Hey there beautiful souls, Avalon here. So we are in December, we are edging towards Yule and Litha, and this is about the time that I personally like to start planning my next Gregorian evolution, if that makes sense. So for many people, the new year starts January 1st. For witches, the spiritual new year, the pagan new year begins with Samhain. So depends on where you like to sit and what you like to celebrate, but I celebrate both, quite frankly, because I rock with the rhythm of the world, then I rock with the rhythm of witches. So for me, there's two things to celebrate. That's January 1st and then Samhain, of course. And the two actually represent something very different to me, and that's perfectly fine as well. I keep one muggle foot in the muggle world and then a witch's foot in the witch's world. I'm straddling the line there. But to help me really progress, to shed and to cross over into the new year with a sense of like a revitalized purpose, then I do a couple of little things, a little something. So as a tarot reader, for me, I start off with my yearly spread, so my year ahead spread, which is something that I actually offer on my Etsy store. So this is the time to do that. Either do it for yourself or find a reader that you resonate with and have them do one for you, because it's phenomenal. And I like to journal about it, and I like to put my little step by step. I'll fill out my journal, for instance, with the cards for every month and the insights that I might have gleaned from those cards, and then see how they integrate into my months to follow. So that's always really fun. Another thing that I really like to do to prepare is actually to get a really good planner, to get a really good organizer. This year I gifted myself a Hobonichi cousin, so it's an A5 hobo, and I'm really looking forward to using it. I've never used this type of diary before, this type of planner before, but I've seen it in action. One of my best friends and coven sisters, she used one all of last year. I loved what she did with it. I was able to have a flick through and I really enjoyed the structure of it. So if you guys are interested, I haven't unboxed it. It's still in its box. It's going to be my Christmas present from myself, basically. But once I have opened it, I'll be happy to sort of show you what it is, and you know, if it's something that you're interested in, just let me know and I will, otherwise I won't bother. But that is something that I'm going to be doing. And then within there, I like to put in all the lunar dates. So I like to set out the lunar dates. I like to look at when the Sabbaths will be falling, on what dates, and you know, pencil those in so that I can start arranging celebrations. And you know, I'm a coven witch, so it helps to know exactly when that's happening, because we do gather for our Sabbaths, and that's positive. So I like to get all of that done. And then I like to create my mantra for the year. And this year be when, better Bell when, Belle, as she likes to call it. This year, Bell put up on her Facebook your word for the year, and my word for the year was miracle. And so I'm working in creating a little mantra for myself, utilizing the word miracle. I've never done it this way before, but I thought, why not have a crack at it? But I usually do like to have a power phrase. This year my power phrase was, be as bold as you are blessed. That served me really well. Next year, moving on, I'm going to be trying on a different type of flavor and seeing where that takes me. So take a moment, meditate, listen to some music, dance it out of yourself, and see if you can't be inspired to find that keyword, that phrase, or even a string of keywords, whatever it takes. So perfection. This is also a time for manifestation books, boards, living art pieces. I've done a video on a living art piece. This is the time to do a living art piece. This is a great time to do a living art piece, and honestly, it is such a great time to do art, full stop. Any time that you can do art, any time that you can get creative, it is a good time. And this is a great time to start setting out the outline for your, you know, your art pieces, your living art pieces, your manifestation books or boards, and you know, and just have a really, really loose, fun, free time with it. Under the header of Litha, as we are here in the Southern Hemisphere, or if you're in Yule, it's merry no matter where you are, because it's that time of the year. This is considered the silly season here Australia, so I'm not quite sure what they call it necessarily up in the north, but it's a time of levity, it's a time of celebration, it's a time of drinking and dancing and having fun, and so it kind of opens yourself up a little bit in a more salubrious, high-spirited sense, and that's what you kind of need. You kind of need that kind of funky energy, and you know, utilize that energy well, put it to good use and create some beautiful things. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is doing away with all of your workings, right? We get to this time of the year and we've had a lot of manifestations and a lot of things that we've been working on, a lot of spell work, any old candles that you might have left over, any old petitions, any old bits and pieces that might be there. It's time to collect them all and dispose of them thoughtfully. And so the way that you dispose of things is completely up to you. If it's paper, I tend to burn it. If it's not, then I tend to bury it, and that's fine with me. And I'll treat it differently every way. I don't like to leave lots of clutter or mess or even pollutants around me. If I'm using lots of jars and I've gone through all my jars, then I'll put them in the recycling bin and then they can go and become something else, and I'm perfectly happy with that transition. I'll smudge it all, I'll sever that link, that energetic link that I have with these tools, and then I'll send them on their way in a thoughtful way, right? So, you know, just tying off all those loose ends. It's not something that I want to carry into the new year, so it's something that I definitely make sure that I do. So another thing that I wanted to mention, and this is more in alignment with, say, manifestation boards and living art pieces, things of that nature, and even journaling. So what I usually do is I set my intentions. I'll set some wild intentions and then I bury them in a pot plant somewhere in my garden, somewhere where I can easily remember where it is and then dig it back up. So I do that, and I like to do that at at this time of the year. I didn't do it last year because I wasn't around here last year, and the year before I wasn't around here last year, the year before, and you know, we've been traveling quite a bit. This is actually the first Christmas that I will be spending in this house of ours here on the beach, so I haven't been able to do this, but it is something that I always have enjoyed doing, and that is to write down my intentions, to bury them, and then to dig them up at this time of the year and go over them and then tick them off and see how much I've actually accomplished. It's a micro version of a time capsule, if you will, but it's a fun little thing to do. You can get the family involved in it as well, and it's just fun to like ruminate because you've got it there and you're not looking at it all the time, so you have a tendency to forget about it, and then you just see how that drive, how that focus at the start of the year carried you through, if it fizzled out altogether or if it actually yielded something, and then compare it, and that way you can adjust your processes for the following year, and it helps, believe me, it helps, and the kids love it. They really do, they love it. Another thing that you can do is make your New Year incense blends, or your sprays, or your oils. So if you're a crafty witch and you like to work with botanicals in this way, then making a really cool New Year blend of any description that can be used in your magical workings is phenomenal. Now, I like to make quite a bit of this sort of stuff. If I'm going to make an incense, I'll use my biggest mortar and pestle, and that is because what I am doing with that is I'm capturing the energy of new. I capture the energy of new. Sometimes I'll leave this task to do on the 1st of January, the first day of the year, the new day of the year, and I'll utilize that incense. I'll add a pinch of new, a pinch of exciting, a pinch of possibility, a pinch of enthusiasm and excitement. The new year is a time where people naturally set their intentions, not that many of them follow through with it in a more sort of muggle style scenario. Magical practitioners have a tendency to really adhere to their intentions as much as possible, so that's not a gripe or even a judgment, it's just an observation. But yeah, it's something that I like to do, and then I bring through, whenever I need to do some work and bring that sense of vitality, that sense of new, a new opportunity, then I'll add a pinch of that New Year blend. So whether that be an oil, a spray, an incense blend, or something else entirely that you've created yourself, then it's great to have one on hand just for those occasions. And this year I know that my baby sister is having a baby, and she'll be having a baby in March, end of February, early March, so that'll be something that I burn on the day of that baby's birth, because it's a new life and I can burn my new incense. Oh my god, it's so fun, it's so fun. And when you're doing this, try to keep that scent or whatever it is that you're creating, the scents that surround your creation, really fresh, really activating, and bless it with crystals and oils that are really high vibration. Keep things clear and spirited, and you can't go wrong with that kind of approach. Declutter, 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 declutter. Now this is for me a big thing. I love to declutter. I'm actually a maniac at it. I'm a maniac at decluttering, and I have recently simplified my living situations quite a bit. So I will be decluttering in this space particularly. I'll be decluttering in the kids' rooms again, but I like to declutter and sort of unencumber the space. Anything that I find that I'm not using, that I've retained even after my big purges, I am going to get rid of it. So, and I'm also going to restructure and reframe what I've got. If I'm not happy with the plates and the cutlery that I've got, I'm going to chuck them and get something else. And I'm really going to analyze the things that I have in my physical environment so that they are bringing me a sense of peace and joy. With that said, decluttering is at the epicenter of that tremendous practice, and getting rid of things, selling things off, donating at that time of the year is wonderful anyway, especially clothing and foods that are not being consumed in your pantries. It's such a nice thing to do for people who are at this very moment in time going without. So declutter, cleanse your wardrobes, and get rid of anything that you're not using, whether that be kids' toys, your own personal clothing, shoes, just, you know, canned goods, whatever it is that you've got that you're just not using, that's there but you're just not using, then get rid of it. Get rid of it, unencumber yourself, clear some space, clear some energy, because that's one of the best things to do to close off a new year, because you are removing things from your physical space to be able to add new opportunities. And you will be able to add new opportunities much more comfortably because you're physically making the space for it. When you physically make space around yourself, you spiritually make space within yourself. It's a beautiful transformative thing that occurs, and it does allow that welcoming in of new opportunities so much more, so much easier. It's incredible. It's incredible. I should actually do a whole video on what it's been like to simplify my life, because I have gotten so much out of it, so much wisdom, so much insight. So I'm all for decluttering at this time of the year. I'm certainly going to be doing it. Don't you worry. I've already started. I've already started doing it. Map out your witch's year. Now, rumor has it that Benabel Wen has created another version of her Metaphysician's Planner. And so she created the first one last year. It was a raging success. She's created another one this year. I'm not quite sure. I didn't get the one last year. I'm considering getting the one this year. She's made some adjustments from what I've heard. Beautiful. My soul sister, Alora Rain, she printed out a version. It's got one of my beautiful pictures on the front cover of her particular diary, and have a look at it on social media if you like. Just look up Alora Rain or on Facebook and you can see sort of what it looks like, because she has been raving about it and it's got me really quite inspired. Chase too has jumped on the bandwagon and he has been raving about it as well, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to get on this bandwagon. I just need to do this. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because planning out your witch's year is so helpful. It's helpful because you can plan your lessons. I'm a study person. I like to learn new things. I'm constantly trying to challenge myself by teaching myself new things. And I like to structure my year so that it facilitates learning, so that I look at the witch's wheel, I understand the energy of the witch's wheel, I understand the mind frames that I'm more or less going to be in. I can't exactly state what kind of headspace I'm going to be, of course, but I know that I naturally resonate with particular seasons in particular ways, and so I like to pencil in little challenges for myself and little, you know, study aspects here, there and everywhere, and points of interest, so that I can pursue that independently. And it's just fun for me because it keeps me, you know, absorbing information, it keeps me learning, and it just has a huge impact in my life. It really does. I like to open up books and take notes and learn. I like to read. That's my thing. I like to do that. So if that's not your thing, then perhaps that's not something that you're really going to resonate with, and you can probably skip over that one. reset your altars and consider, in fact, making a career altar, or consider making an altar specifically for the grand focus in your life. So if you have an altar for your spirituality, like many of us do, you can have an altar for your marriage, you can have an altar for your job, you can have an altar for your health, you can have an altar for your study, you can have an altar for just about anything. And if there's something that you really can foresee yourself dedicating a lot of time and a lot of energy to, then have an altar for that. And if it's just spirituality that you're going to go head first in, and I don't mean to say if it's just spirituality, nothing is just anything, right? But if it's spirituality that you're heading into, then adorn your altar accordingly. Move things around, wipe down the surfaces, dust the bottles, you know, do the general housekeeping, and just re-zhuzh everything. Okay, another thing that I would do is cleanse all of my crystals. I would like to cleanse all of my favorite working crystals, if not my entire crystal collection. I have a pretty big crystal collection, not as big as some, but it's cumbersome to try and take everything out there, and I did that in the last moon. I took every crystal that I own out there. It took me forever to take it all out, and then it took me forever to bring it back. I'm talking 3 hours either way, you know, it was cumbersome, but I did it, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to take my favorite working crystals and some of my bones and some of my decks, and I'm going to give them a good once over, a good zhuzhing, a good cleansing, you know, reset that energy and have them feeling crackly and clear and crisp and just lovely. One of the last things that I'd like to mention, and I could keep talking about this forever, giving you idea after idea after idea, but I think I've talked enough. But the last thing that I will mention is the making of a candle. I'm going to be disposing of most of my candles as part of cleansing my old works, if that makes sense, which I spoke about earlier on in this piece. And so I get rid of my blood candle, and I thoughtfully dispose of my blood candle accordingly, and I create a new candle, or I buy a new candle. This year I'm actually thinking that I might buy one, because I just don't have the time to be making another one. I generally like to make my working candles, but I don't think that I can dedicate time to making a working candle this year. So in the moment I'm hunting for a new candle that I will prepare with my own blood, and that will be my candle for the next, you know, rotation. But it's something that I like to do, and if you have the time for it and the skills to make your own candle, then by all means do that. But your working candle, having a fresh working candle on January 1st, it's just the nicest thing. A fresh candle to light in your sacred space, to work with that flame, to have it illuminate your path, dedicate it to your deity, whatever it is that you do with your working candles. I know what I do with mine. I don't know what you do with yours, but it's so nice to have a new one. It's so nice to have burnt one out. Right now, my candle is so low, it's about that low in a glass like this. Trying to light it is, oh, it's a hell of an effort right now. It's getting a bit cumbersome, but that's when I know that I've done good work. I've used that candle, I've used it all the way down to a little stub, and now I get the honor of actually disposing of that candle that I made myself, that worked beautifully for me throughout the entire year. So I'm very excited about that. A new candle just makes me really happy. New candle, new scents, oh my gosh, just such beautiful work. And I guess finally, really finally, because I think I've said finally before, is my closing down ritual. I would highly recommend designing a little closing down ritual for your Gregorian calendar so that you can move into the new year really positively and with a sense of purpose, with a sense of meaning, grounded and centered. Doing a ritual on New Year's Eve to help you to just shift some energy is so great, to help you to close down the year, to help you not bring the ties from last year into this year, because they belong in the old year. They do. They are now memories that you can carry with you forever. But what you want now is to start fresh, unencumbered, set new intentions, keep working on your projects if you're continuing through with them. I'm continuing through with my project. I've been working on the Bone, Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot all year, and I'm still going to be working on the Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot in the new year. I know this about myself, but I'm not going to take this year's experiences and bring them into next year's experiences. I'm going to carry the memory of them, the lessons that I learnt, I'm going to carry that across for myself. And so I'm going to be doing a ritual to close down my year, to close off those loose ends after I've done all the things that I have said I was going to do, or I've recommended in this video. After I've done all of that, I'm going to be ready to really close things down and just have a really great time of it. It's a great time to celebrate. It's a great time to have a drink. It's a great time to hug your friends. It's a great time to be in a really great frame of mind. So that's it, folks. I could talk about this forever. I really could. I could really just give you idea after idea after idea, and this would be an astronomically long video, but that's not what I'm intending here. So take what I've said as a little bit of inspiration, do with it what you will, add below some of the things that you like to do to close down your old year, to prepare for the new year, and let's just get a nice little fun conversation started. And if there's anything that you'd like to know more of, leave a comment and I'll be happy to get back to you. So much love, many blessings. Look after yourselves.